Hey everybody, so further to my last video regarding this 16-year-old teenage girl that was arrested brutally, in my opinion, by 7 police officers in Leeds. Yesterday on GB News, there was a former police officer being interviewed, and I did share this interview, but I thought for those of you that haven't had a chance to watch it all, I'm just going to show you a few highlights to just give my opinion on what this former police officer's saying. So let's hear what he's got to say.
Centre is par for the course. That's normal. Teenagers get drunk, they're picked up, they're taken home. No offence there whatsoever. Once they were at their home address, the teenager allegedly said, "Are you a lesbian? You look like my nan." Well, one, that's not an offence. Making a comparison with your grandma is not an offence. But two, even if the comment itself was wrong, you cannot have a public order offence in a private dwelling. You cannot. It is not possible.
Exactly. He's spot on. And this is a former police officer. I'm going to show you a little bit more in a moment because he goes on to say quite a few damning things. But he's spot on. How can it be a public order offence? And there's no further action on this girl either. They've said that today. There's no further action. So what was the point in this? It was hurty words yet again. 7 police officers on a 16-year-old girl because she said the word lesbian. Now, I know this is going to be divisive, but if she was non-white, would they have done that? Can you really see 7 police officers dragging a black girl or any other race, Asian, Indian, anything other than white? Would they have done that to a non-white girl? I don't believe so, because they would have been called racist. The police have become fully politicised now. They are political. We are not in a democracy. So let's hear what else he has to say.
The arrest was entirely unlawful. Now then, let's look at it a little bit further. This was not just an arrest. This was not an unlawful arrest. As far as I'm concerned, this was a home invasion by an organised crime gang called West Yorkshire Police. This was an armed kidnapping of a 16-year-old autistic girl.
Wow. So he's basically just said it was an armed kidnapping. Well, I don't know if the police are armed. I don't think they are. So I think he's got that bit wrong. But apart from the arming, unless they did have firearms, though I didn't see any. He's right. It was kidnapping. They went into someone's house. They stole a child from the house. This child is not even old enough to drink or drive a car. She's a child, and a vulnerable child at that, as she's autistic. They've gone in and kidnapped her. So let's continue.
Because she happened to say West Yorkshire Police do not like. Every single one of those officers needs sacking. And the Chief Constable Robbins, he needs to go and needs to go before tea time.
So, Harry, just to recap what you just said, you say that the police acted like criminals themselves. They kidnapped almost this young woman, well, teenager, and they acted
No, she's not a young woman. Let's not call her a young woman. A young woman would be like an 18, 19, 20-year-old. She's a teenage child. Don't make excuses for her.
Incompetently and didn't know the law.
Correct. There is no power of arrest for public order in a private dwelling. If you and I raided unlawfully a person's house and assaulted a teenager and dragged them out and locked them up, we would be arrested for kidnap. Had I been there, I would have arrested all of those officers. I would have fought with them tooth and nail. I would have used everything in my power to overcome them because they were behaving like complete lunatics. This is a terror gang. This is a terrorist gang operating in West Yorkshire. Now, we've tried to appeal to West Yorkshire on many occasions and said you cannot take your understanding of the law from Stonewall, from Mermaids, and from Pride. And their response is to block us. These exact same officers last weekend were tooting the woke horn at one of the West Yorkshire Prides. And this week, they're there knocking down doors and dragging out a poor autistic.
Okay. So did you hear that? This is a former police officer. And he said last weekend they were at Pride and they take their police officing from Stonewall, Mermaids and Pride. This is policing by feelings, policing by hurty word, not fact. This country has gone to absolute shite. And I'll tell you something now, everyone blames the Tories. The Tories are horrific. But it all started with Tony Blair. He's the one that started all this. He decriminalised loads of things. The whole country went to absolute shit in the late 90s. And that's when it started. And then it continued under Cameron and it got worse under Boris. And we are where we are. And now the Labour Party and the Tory Party are just one uni party and there's no opposition in government. And this is being allowed to continue. The Home Secretary, I actually really like the Home Secretary, but even she's not doing nothing about this. Do you know why? Because Tony Blair introduced directly elected mayors and it gave so much power to the mayors that they can do whatever they want in their region. Look what Sadiq Cunt is doing to London because he's a directly elected mayor. That was a bad idea and clearly they're getting away with it up in Yorkshire. That was another Blair idea. They need to abolish that altogether. The mayors have too much power. The central government need control over the police. They need to take the police back because this is not policing. This is thuggery. These are criminal gangs. This former police officer is spot on.
Harry,
Harry,
you're making obviously quite a lot of strong allegations there, and it's only
spot
fair
on.
that West Yorkshire Police do have the right of reply. And in
I can't stand her in the Green. I can't stand her. Listen to her now.
Statement we've heard from them, they say that a 16-year-old had been arrested on suspicion of a homophobic public order offence, but urged people to avoid reaching conclusions solely on the basis of the social media video, which only provides a very limited snapshot of the circumstances of this incident. Do you accept that maybe we actually don't know everything that happened here? We don't know the lead up to how this happened.
No, I don't. Because the statement that they put out said that the arrest was made following a comment made in the dwelling. Now, you cannot have a public order offence in a private dwelling. There is no such thing. So their own statement gets it entirely wrong. This is after they've contemplated it, realised that they're in deep trouble. And what they've done is they've got a bigger spade and dug a deeper hole. You cannot have a public order offence in a private dwelling. The arrest was entirely unlawful, and I hope that she sues them and takes them for everything they've got.
Wow, strong stuff from you, Harry, there. And I'm sure many will agree that this was, well,
I totally agree with him. I totally agree with him. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section. We need common sense back in the police force. The problem is that bobbies like him, they've retired now. All the decent ones are either retired or they're 5-10 years off it and they just don't care anymore. And we're recruiting all these millennials and then the next lot, I don't know what they're called now, the Gen Snowflake, I call them, Gen Z, is it? I don't know. They're going into the police force. They've come through the woke university. It's all about hurty feelings and they just haven't lived any real life. And this is what we've got running the country. And I said this, 10, 15, 20 years ago. I says, you wait until this lot now are in charge and all the older generation retire. And look where we are. Anyway, do you agree with this copper? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care. Bye.